Welcome, everyone. Almighty God, we pray for your blessing upon this council, help and prosper its work for the advancement and benefit of its people, so that peace and happiness, unity and justice may be established amongst us all. Amen. Manningham Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri Wurrung people as the traditional owners of the land and the waterways, now known as Manningham. Council pays respects to elders past, present and emerging, and values the ongoing contribution to enrich and appreciate the cultural heritage of Manningham. Council acknowledges and respects Australia's First Peoples as traditional owners of lands and waterways across country, and encourages reconciliation between all. Manningham Council also values the contribution made to Manningham over the years of people of diverse backgrounds and cultures. I welcome all members of the public who have joined us in person and online to observe tonight's proceedings. I would like to advise that tonight's meeting is being audio and video recorded. All care will be taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor to the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the gallery, it is assumed that your consent is given if your voice and/or image is broadcast by council. No additional recording of the meeting is permitted without council's consent. Council meetings are also conducted in accordance with our governance rules. I will introduce each item of business listed on the agenda, calling it by number and by reading the title. I will then call for a mover and a seconder of a motion on the item before opening any debate. Only councillors can join the debate on an item. Councillors may adopt an officer's recommendation in the report or propose amendments and supplementary motions. I would like to draw your attention to item 7 on tonight's agenda, public question time, which provides people with an opportunity to ask questions of the council. Council has allocated 30 minutes for question time, and the process for public question time is set out in our governance rules. Questions must be received prior to the start of the meeting to be asked. Where we receive advance notice of a question in accordance with our governance rules, we will provide a verbal response to the question at our meeting. Questions we receive just prior to the meeting may be taken on notice if we don't have the information available to provide meaningful response. If this happens, we will provide you with a written response to your question within 10 working days. Our governance rules provide that we deal with a maximum of 2 questions per person and up to 4 questions on any one issue. These rules will be enforced to ensure a broad range of topics and perspectives can be heard during question time. When it is your turn to ask a question, I will ask you to come forward to the lectern in the gallery, and then after you ask your question, you will have 2 minutes to make a brief statement. If you have more than 2 questions, please submit these additional questions in writing to council through the normal channels. To ensure the efficient conduct of our meeting and maximum participation during question time, all questions and answers shall be as brief as possible, and no discussion will be entered into. Councillors in the gallery are reminded that question time is to be conducted in a respectful manner, having consideration to the diverse views of those present. Any disorderly conduct will be managed in accordance with our governance rules. Item 2, apologies and requests for leave. There are no apologies. I do note that Councillor Lang is joining the meeting online. So Councillor Lang, can you please confirm that you can see and hear the meeting?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I can see and hear the meeting.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any requests for leave of absence? No? Thank you. Item number 3, prior notification of conflict of interest. Councillors, I have received a prior notification of conflict of interest from Councillor Mayne.
Councillors, I have submitted a written disclosure of conflict of interest form to the CEO for confidential item 17.2, Strategic Property Portfolio Former Quarry Update. My interest in this item is a general conflict of interest as I work for a consultancy firm that has been involved in the Manningham Council SPP project, and I will leave the meeting prior to consideration of item 17.2. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mayne. Would anyone else like to give notice of conflict of interest? No. Item number 4, confirmation of minutes. Can I have a mover, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 24th of March 2026 be confirmed.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Can I have a seconder, please?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Can I put that motion? All in favour? All against? The motion is carried. Item 5, presentations. Of 5.1, acknowledgement. We have acknowledgement tonight for the retirement of Mr. Jeff Broome, President of Doncaster Templestowe Historical Society. So, councillors, I would like to formally acknowledge Mr. Jeff Broome, who has recently retired as President of the Doncaster Templestowe Historical Society after 18 years of dedicated voluntary service, including the last 4 years as President. Jeff first became involved with the Society in 2008, stepping up as Vice President alongside the late Eric Collier in 2016, and later taking on the role of President in 2022 when Eric relocated to South Australia. During this time, he played a critical role in positioning the Society for its future, advocating for new Shrams Cottage Museum Visitor Centre, which was opened in 2025. This achievement will ensure that our community and social history is not only preserved but also activated for the next generation to learn from and connect with. Jeff has drawn upon his leadership experience and entrepreneurial spirit gained from many years as a business owner to lead the Society through its transition to a new space, ensuring that people, the collections and the community it serves are well cared for. Jeff's colleague, Glenys McIntyre, incoming President, had this to say about the impact of Jeff's tenure with the Society. His instinct to help, paired with a deep knowledge of our operations, make him an irreplaceable figure within our community. Jeff's contribution is not just operational, it is cultural. He fosters a sense of care, connection and quiet excellence that has come to define our group. As Jeff steps back to lighten the load, he will be involved with the Society he loves so dearly and making himself available as a mentor and guide the next generation. It is this care, connection and quiet excellence that his true legacy alongside the achievement of a new purposely built facility. On behalf of Council, I would like to thank Jeff for his dedication in serving the community and present a certificate of appreciation in recognition of his services to Manningham. Come this way, Jeff. Come here, Jeff, come and use this one.
Excuse me reading. I'm not very good at ad-libbing. Yes. Well, Mayor Jim Grivers, councillors and CEO Andrew Day, I appreciate your acknowledgement of my service to DTHS, which was completely unexpected, I've got to say. It's greatly appreciated and an honour. Thank you for your support. In March, I stepped down as President due to age and health reasons, and I will remain on committee for now and will continue to contribute as best I can. Someone mentioned about 2008. Well, after losing my wife in 2005, I was in a bit of a limbo and a society member, Trish Renfrey, invited me to attend a meeting of the society, which I did and joined on the spot. And I don't regret it. It's been a wonderful journey. Sorry. I've said here, the subsequent 18 years have given me much joy and, more importantly, have given me the opportunity to contribute to the society and the community. We all realise the importance of collecting and retaining Manningham's history, and through HTSCS, I have had the opportunity to contribute to this. My thanks to Council for their providing a new building for the society, the great improvement in our work environment, the upgrading of display and storage facilities for the collection has been most welcome. And I feel also that the society has established a very good working relationship with the council. We've had a lot of cooperation from the council, particularly in the last 5 years, and it's very pleasing. I think it's to our mutual benefit. Finally, I wish to thank the many council officers who I've had the pleasure of dealing with over the years. I've always had a lot of cooperation from them, courtesy and respect, and I've endeavoured to return the same to them. And I thank them all. Thank you very much.
Councillors, would anyone like to acknowledge Jeff? Councillor Chin.
Thank you. It is my great honour just to say a few words to Jeff. And moving from the country to Manningham, Jeff wanted to get involved and build a sense of community. And a lot has been said that I don't need to repeat again. And Jeff, you are a do things person. You always want to contribute to the community in some way. And you used to say contributing 100% is never enough. You wanted to contribute 110%. Yes, you have proved yourself to be a dedicated 110% to do things person. You have always been a strong advocate for the Strand Cottage Museum Complex and a visitor center. As a result of effective advocacy, Strand Cottage Visitor Center project was finally endorsed by Council on 12 December 2023. And you then work collaboratively with Council and to achieve great community outcome. Most importantly, you adhered to good governance practices by understanding and respecting the roles and responsibilities of council officers and community partners, which produced a very good result overall. On Friday, 17th October last year, the new Strand Cottage Visitor Center was officially opened, including the upgrade of the precinct. What an achievement. After achieving a significant milestone at the age of 96, acknowledging that it is time to slow down, it is a good decision to make that allows you, Jeff, for another phase of life. Jeff, you told me you now have two priorities. Look after your health and pass the baton to a capable person who is younger than you. And I think you have achieved that. Now we have the new president, Gladys McIntyre, who is much younger than you and full of energy and passion, just like you. But the community will be delighted to know you remain as a committee member and continue to contribute. We all know that historical societies are often overlooked due to a variety of reasons, but they play an important role in protecting and preserving the historical record and interpreting the past to the public. Thank you for all your contribution to preserve and enhance the rich history of Manningham. Good on you, Jeff.
Are there any other councillors who'd like to give an acknowledgement? Councillor Conlon?
Thank you, Mayor. Jeff, it's been great working with you over the years, and I really appreciate what you've done in terms of representing the Historical Society. We had during the process of finally building the new joint down at the Historical Society. That was a long process. You stuck at it, and congratulations for that stickability. I guess one of the things about volunteer organisations is they wouldn't run without people like you. And so I suspect if you hadn't put your hand up and done that great job for those years, the Historical Society would not be what it is today. So it needs that leadership, it needs that passion. And on behalf of my community, I'd like to really thank you for everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Would anyone else like to acknowledge? Councillor Lang.
Thank you. Look, I just want to recognise and celebrate you, Jeff. You have made a remarkable contribution, and I know that you said that you stepped in, but you more than stepped in. You showed a complete commitment and a genuine passion to history, to storytelling, to your community, and to shaping this society in what it is today. As president, your passion was evident. Even when we came to the opening, just your enthusiasm that you got to share with us all about the journey every time we visited, looking at all of the maps and the progress. It was your leadership, Jeff, that has really shaped the society. And it hasn't just preserved the past, it's actually strengthened its future. So I just want to congratulate you and tell you how much you have really encouraged storytelling, local history, bringing the schools in, and your fellow members. And most importantly, you have fostered that spirit of what the society is all about. And you once said it was about curiosity, respect, and a deep appreciation for people and the history and the stories that come with it. So I can say that you have lived up to that, and the leadership now in the Historical Society has you to thank for that. So thank you for your dedication, care, and your determination. Well done, Jeff, and enjoy your retirement. I sincerely thank you.
Are there any other councillors for acknowledgement? I shall then move on. Item number 6, petitions. 6.1. I note that written responses have been provided to the lead petitioners from 24th of March 2026 council meeting and were included in the agenda of this meeting. The responses will also be included in the minutes in accordance with sub-rule 58.9 of the governance rules. Item 6.2. Councillors, we have received 2 petitions for tabling tonight. Sorry, a few more than that. There's a question, sorry. My apologies. 2 petitions for tabling tonight. The first petition is regarding the request for an assessment for the restoration of the road sidewalk and drainage infrastructure on Berrima Road. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Conlon.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that the petition with 6 signatories requesting an assessment for restoration of the road sidewalk and drainage infrastructure on Berrima Road between Flora Road and the new development at the end of Berrima Road be tabled and referred to the relevant officers for response.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. Can I have a seconder, please?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor El-Taha. Councillor Conlon, would you like to move? Would you like to speak to that?
No?
No? Is Councillor El-Taha, would you like to speak to that? Thank you. I will put that motion. All in favour? That has been carried unanimously. Item 6.3, second petition is regarding the tree planting in Linda Court, Doncaster East. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Conlon.
Yes, thank you. I would like to move that the petition with 6 signatories requesting council to stop further tree planting on the nature strip of Linda Court, Doncaster East, introduce low maintenance flowers to reduce debris and undertake regular street cleaning be tabled and referred to the relevant officers for response.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. Do I have a seconder, please?
I second.
Councillor El-Taha. Thank you. Councillor Conlon, would you like to speak to Councillor El-Taha? Would you like to speak to? No? I will put that motion. All in favour? That is carried unanimously. Item number 7, public question time. We have received several questions for tonight's council meeting. Anyone who has registered a question with council will have the opportunity to read out their question or choose to have the question read out by our CEO. I will call upon those who have registered their question to come forward in their lectern in the gallery. Our first question comes tonight from Jay DeGraaf. Jay, if you're in the gallery, would you please come to the lectern and ask your question? You have 2 minutes to make a brief statement to provide your context to your question. Up to
Thank you, councillors. So the question is in regard predominantly to the Tullamore estate and concerns about crime and safety. So a number of residents have expressed concern about theft, car break-ins and home break-ins in the area. They came to me with questions around asking the council if they could consider steps that may be available within their role to improve safety, including possibly working closely with Victoria Police, reviewing environmental design measures such as lighting and visibility, or possibly exploring whether any targeted external security presence or other practical responses could be supported by council. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Jay. I will refer that to Lachlan Johnson, Director of City Services.
Through you, Mayor, and thank you very much for your question, Jay. Regarding community safety in Doncaster and particularly in Tullamore Estate, Council understands that concerns about theft, car break-ins and home invasions can have a significant impact on how safe residents feel in their neighbourhoods. And we take those concerns really seriously. All residents should be able to feel safe in their homes and in their neighbourhoods. Council maintains a very close working relationship with Victoria Police. We meet with them monthly and meet with the Commander to share information, discuss emerging trends and identify opportunities to collaborate on community safety and crime prevention initiatives. As a result of regular engagement and the strong commitment of both Council and VicPol, patrols of Tullamore Estate and surrounds have been increased and Victoria Police have focused on specific areas where concerns have been raised. In addition, Council specifically supports a range of community engagement and education initiatives. These include neighbourhood policing forums, crime prevention pop-ups, information stands in local activity centres and regular community safety updates provided by local police leadership. These sessions are designed to promote open dialogue, provide practical crime prevention advice and ensure residents are aware of how to report concerns directly to police. The most recent event was the Manningham PSA Neighbourhood Policing Forum, which was held last month on the 5th of March. Whilst Council has an important role and strongly advocates for the concerns of the entire community, Victoria Police are rightfully the lead agency for law enforcement. Victoria Police have the training, skills, tools, resources, and most importantly, the legal framework to manage law enforcement. Within Council's direct role, we focus on creating safer public environments through crime prevention, through environmental design principles that you referenced in your question. This includes ongoing reviews of public lighting, sightlines, road safety, landscaping, passive surveillance in streets, parks and reserves. As you may be aware, the Tullamore estate, including the parks, playgrounds, local roads and the street infrastructure, is being progressively handed over from the developer to council to maintain and look after on behalf of the community. You may have noticed recent resurfacing works on Heritage Boulevard, which form part of the handover, ensuring that these assets are in a good state for the community to look after. As part of Council's ongoing works and management of the estate, Council is currently engaging with Tullamore residents regarding a proposal to reduce the speed limit throughout the estate to 40 kilometres an hour. This is aimed at not only improving road safety, but improving the overall amenity of the Tullamore estate. Council's also been reviewing the sightlines, signage, line marking, parking to enhance safety visibility for drivers and pedestrians at night and during daytime. Specifically on the top of safety and deterring crime, Council has written to all residents encouraging them to keep the frontage of their properties well maintained and not overgrown, and to consider timed lighting, which can help improve amenity and demonstrate that homes are occupied, all contributing towards deterring crime. Council will continue to work with residents to ensure the estate remains well maintained and welcoming for the community. Council is also working with Neighbourhood Watch and other partners to support local awareness, information sharing and community resilience. We do encourage all residents to continue reporting incidents, no matter how large or small, to Victoria Police. Accurate reporting is absolutely critical to informing police responses both now and into the future. Council will also continue to engage with police and relevant partners to explore more practical and proportionate measures to support community safety within local neighbourhoods and specifically around those hotspot areas in Tullamore Estate. But thank you very much for raising the question tonight.
Thank you, Lachlan. 7.2, which is our next question from Vincent Tester. Vincent, if you are in the gallery, would you please come to the lectern and ask your questions? You have 2 minutes to make a brief statement to provide context to your question.
As a member of the Community Reference Panel, I'm here to inform you that there is no scientific or engineering justification to conduct Action 13 of the Integrated Water Management Strategies. Councillors, I have sent you copies of test trials and extensive research carried out by qualified organisations such as Big Bill Victoria and other Victorian councils that inform advantages and disadvantages of permeable pavements. Manningham has used permeable pavements to water street trees in Parker Street, Templestowe and West End Road, Warrandyte. Therefore, I can conclude that Manningham would not have done these projects without prior knowledge on watering street trees using permeable pavements. Conducting Action 13 will cost an estimated $250,000 of ratepayers' money. This is a waste of money as the information is already available to Manningham in many documents that you have received from me. Councillors, I request that you demonstrate good financial governance by using the estimated $250,000 of ratepayers' funds for more useful purpose, such as repairing potholes in roads and footpaths that cause injuries to people. My first question is, what information does Manningham hope to obtain that is not already documented in Parker Street or West End Road project or in scientific and engineering documents that I've sent to Council? Part 2. Last month I asked a question and the question was, assuming Council rejects point 13 of the Integrated Water Management Strategy, which alternative projects would you gain the benefit, that is the resources, from not doing the test trials of the permeable pavements? The reply did not address the question. Would someone please let me know why I received a reply that did not address my question appropriately? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tester. So the first question I'll refer to Lachlan Johnson, the Director of City Services.
Through you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Tester, for your question. As you pointed out, Council recently installed porous pavement as part of a footpath project in West End Road in Warrandyte and as part of the Templestowe route works on Parker Street in Templestowe. These installations are being monitored to see how the porous pavement holds up in these spaces. This information will also feed into the broader porous pavement trial as outlined in the IWM strategy and that you spoke about in your question. The installation of porous pavement in these projects wasn't primarily driven for passive irrigation of trees. It was instead used as a way to limit the impacts of major construction works within the tree protection zones of established trees. As you point out, porous pavement is widely accepted and an encouraged approach. It is used in Manningham. We seek to apply industry best practice and engineering standards in its use. But there are site-specific considerations that need to be made to ensure that its use is successful. These include things such as the prevalence of silt in the local catchment area of the porous pavement. A high and persistent silt load can block the channels in the pavement matrix, the species, health, age and proximity of trees, groundwater conditions, existing soil permeability, etc. In assessing both these recent installations and in delivering the wider trial, subject to the Council decision tonight, their overall effectiveness in these contexts will be assessed.
Thank you, Lachlan. For the second question, I will refer to Julia Genevieve, Acting Director of City Planning and Livability.
Thank you, Vincent, for your question. The response provided at the March Council meeting restated the rationale for retaining Action 13 in Manningham's integrated water management strategy, including its strategic merit and alignment with Council's obligations to the Yarra Catchment IWM Forum. Officers continue to recommend that the pilot project remain a priority project due to its demonstrated benefits for water quality, urban cooling, and its role in supporting delivery of the Yarra Catchment IWM Forum targets. Officers do not recommend an alternate project. This is a discrete, short-term pilot designed to test and build an evidence base for passively irrigated street trees using porous pavements in Manningham. The performance of this pilot project will be monitored and reported back to Council as part of the 2029 review. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Okay, our next question is from Cynthia Pilley. Cynthia, if you're in the gallery, would you please come to the lectern and ask your questions? You have 2 minutes to make a brief statement to provide your context to your questions.
Thank you, Honourable Mayor and Councillors, for taking this question, these couple of questions. There is a myth advocated by the forest industry that the best way to tackle climate change is to cut down forests and regrow them. Professor David Lingermeyer, AO, is a world-leading expert in forest and woodland ecology, resource management, conservation science and biodiversity conservation, reports in his evidence-based account the ugly truth about what's happening in our tall forests, the forest wars, that the reality is that a handful of seedlings is not the ecological equivalent of a large old tree. Over the past months, when discussing the topic with residents confronting what to do when planning new builds on their property, I'm alarmed that advice along the lines of you can remove the trees as long as for every tree you cut down, X or Y number of trees are replaced and planted. We now know that it takes decades of growth for trees to have a positive effect on carbon absorption. My casual observation of new builds would indicate that the results will be devastating to Manningham's very treed heritage and reputation. Like I, for one, when a little less aware of the importance of keeping canopy trees whenever possible, would probably go for the option of removing trees, just to be sure, and remove any hassle. So my two questions are, what policy steps are being taken to encourage the removal of old canopy trees in Manningham, rather than ranking of equal value to X or Y number of replacement plantings? And question two, while a permit, I understand, is required to remove, destroy or lop a canopy tree in residential zones, does Council have a mechanism in place and available to the public to record the outcome of permit requests, type and number of canopy trees removed and planting replacements? Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia, for your questions. I'll refer that to Andrew McMaster, the Director of Connected Communities.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Cynthia, for your questions. I'd first like to reassure you, Cynthia, that council officers work very hard to retain canopy trees as part of development proposals. In fact, there's a planning permit before the council tonight where vegetation is protected as a condition of the approval that's recommended by officers. There is no rule that permits a particular number of trees to be planted to make up for replacement trees that's applied by council officers as a rule. On your first question, I'd refer you to my previous responses on recent reforms in the state government planning, housing and planning announcements, which seek to protect canopy trees and require permits, as you suggested, for their removal, their lopping or their trimming. On question two, the answer is no. Council doesn't have any mechanisms, as you've suggested in your question.
Thank you, Andrew. Our next question is from, is it Bimal Shrestha? So, Bimal, if you are in the gallery, would you please come to the lectern and ask your questions? You have 2 minutes to make a brief statement and provide context to your question. I hope I got your name right. Oh.
Thank you, Mayor Grievous, and all present councillors and my fellow residents. I'm Bimal from 5A Chivers Road. This is regards to the development going on at 1A Chivers Road, an extension of 81 rooms, a building that's going to be at the maximum 17.7 meters high, about 53 meters wide, which is going up about 3 meters from the shared boundary. Whilst the development has raised a number of concerns regards to safety on the road and the traffic, in terms of exposure, we are probably the worst. We've got this structure that's going to be erected pretty much right behind our backyard, which will completely overlook. Within that context, I've gone through the recommendations made by the responsible officers, and there were just a few questions, and I appreciate some of them might be quite specific. First question, why is the northern boundary being suggested only running 30 meters from the northwest corner of the plot? The shared boundary is already 43 meters, and as it exists, there's a green boundary there which serves as a relatively effective boundary. So if we are talking about replacing that bit, that was one question I wanted to get my head around. Second question, there are 2 gum trees coming up abutting the northern boundary of the proposed development and at the back of our backyard. I couldn't see anything specific, if I've missed it, of any protection going around these 2 young gum trees, which are probably approaching 3.5 meters high now. And they would naturally grow to provide a bit of screening, if any, from the proposed building towards us. Third question.
Okay, Bimal, do you have 2 questions?
I'm so sorry, I thought it was 4, sorry, did I?
No, it is 2 questions that we have per person. We understand you're also putting through is it for your wife?
Yes, for my wife.
Is your wife here?
Yes.
She can ask the other 2 questions if she likes, if she'd like to come up.
Thank you so much, and I do apologize for that.
That's okay. We can take that. Yep, let's do that.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
I'll be quick. The other 2 are straightforward. Noise, sight and dust from the demolition, particularly. I know the development is being considered very carefully in that sense, but from the demolition, as they're going to have to bring a 3-story house down or bricks, will there be some kind of screen of a nominal height to prevent all that coming our way, because we are downstream from there, with not much vegetation to screen any of that at the moment. And my 4th final question was, there were mention about conditions about parking on Chivers Road. At the best, I felt that was a bit vague, because it just says there will be measures put in place to minimize parking on Chivers Road. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, in 2000 and then in 2010, the exact thing was said by VCAT. We have cars parking. When we had the meeting last time, the comment was, oh, but that's for the council to enforce. So I don't know if we're going to go down that route again. So I just wanted some clarification on that. What exact measures are going to be put in place? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you both for your questions. We really appreciate it. I'll refer this to Julia Genevieve, Acting Director of City Planning and Livability.
Thank you for your question. The proposal has been designed by the applicant along a continuous alignment, set back a minimum of 3.8 metres to the balcony at ground level. All trees along the northern boundary have been assessed by an arborist report submitted with the application and advertised with the application. Council's planning arborist independently considered the arborist report and all trees assessed within proximity, and was satisfied that they will not be impacted where they are not shown to be removed. Condition 6, 7 and 8 of the officer recommendation for Chivers Road recommends road widening. It is not proposed to change the current parking restrictions recently introduced along Chivers Road. And for that final question around the construction impacts, Condition 5 requires a construction management plan, which is a CMP, which will deal with construction, dust, hours, etc. The CMP covers the following: so public safety, amenity and site security, operating hours, noise and vibration controls, air quality and dust management, stormwater and sediment control and tree protection, waste minimisation, and traffic and parking management. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Julia. And thank you, everyone in the public, for your questions. Item number 8, admission of urgent business. Councillors, there is one proposed urgent business item tonight. Do I have a mover for admitting the proposed urgent business item? Councillor Diamante.
I move the Council admits for consideration the following urgent business report at item 15 of this meeting. Item 15.1, Appointment of Authorised Officers, Planning and Environment Act 1987.
Thank you, Councillor Diamante. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Mayne. Councillor Diamante, did you want to speak to the motion? Councillor Mayne, did you want to speak to the motion? I'll put that motion. All in favour? That is carried unanimously. Item number 9, planning permit applications. 9.1. Planning application PLA23/0154 for an amendment to planning permit PL10/021131 at 1 and 1A Chivers Road, Templestowe. by including land at 1A Chivers Road and to extend the existing residential aged care facility, associated tree removal, removal of restrictive covenant contained in transfer number M77177-4U for Lot 2 on Plan of Subdivision 202164J and removal of an existing easement. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Conlon.
I'd like to move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Diamante. Councillor Conlon, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is always a tough decision because despite the of all of us wanting to do the best thing by everyone, unfortunately there's no decision that everyone will win in this case. It is it's incumbent upon us as councillors to make decisions that serve the community, but also that are enforceable, I guess, in terms of planning law. So I think it's very important for us to understand that what we have here is a decision for us that's been recommended for adoption by the officers, but with a large number of conditions. And so I'd like to just acknowledge the officers for the work they've put in terms of trying to make this a workable application in terms of the community. And so there is a lot of work being done by the officers, and they've taken into account the objections, and they've worked hard with the developer, as I understand it, to come to these conditions. We can't ignore the fact that this application actually is creating another 81 beds in our aged care in Manningham, and that is an important thing. We have to consider all the residents, and in terms of the community, I think from my experience, having your parents close to where you live is a really important thing, and so it's important for us to have that option for residents within Manningham. And so again, this is, as the officers have said in the report, the application does create a good balance of I guess of the community need and the required outcomes. So I'd like to speak specifically about a lot of the objections were about the access, concerns about traffic and access and etc. And so there is a major condition put on in the notice of decision, in the permit regarding the widening and the addition of curb and channel and footpath for Chivers Road. So there's not too many times when we actually see an application like this where they've actually gone the extra step and said, well, yeah, we will enforce those conditions to try and ensure that we do have the right access and that we minimise traffic issues. Of course, no traffic issues will not be eliminated, but it's just a fact of life that, these are things we've got to live with. So in considering all this, councillors, I believe it is important for us to acknowledge the work that the officers have done, acknowledge those strict conditions, including the widening of Chivers Road, and including the construction management plan required for that, and that we are aware that if we do choose not to pass this, then it's basically open slather for the developer at VCAT, is my understanding. So, sorry, I don't want to have to go through that and explain all that. I'm assuming councillors are well enough aware of the consequences if council decides without fair reason to reject an application. So, on balance, I believe it is the best thing, and I appreciate that it's not going to be great for everyone, particularly in this room, and I acknowledge the residents who are here, and but it is something there's just part of, I guess, progress, what we would call progress, that we have. We have a planning law. We have to keep to it, and I think this is in overall everyone's interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. Councillor Diamante, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Conlon. I concur with what you were saying, and I say to my children all the time that policy making is hard and it's very rarely black and white. And this is one of those situations where you've got essentially a residential area with lots of residents overlooking this property, and you've got a really small, narrow, old street that was never intended when these blocks were built for a facility that's now going to accommodate 160 bedrooms and traffic in terms of workers and shift workers and deliveries and visitors and what have you. And it is quite a large bulk, as our questioner mentioned, up to 17.7 metres or 3 stories in the part of this permit application, which is the amendment which seeks to extend it into 1A Chivers Road. So it is big and it is bulky, and it will have some amenity impact on the residents, and we can't hide from that. However, as Councillor Conlon said, one of the things we are in desperate shortage of across Manningham is appropriate housing for people to age in place, and this does give us an additional 81 bedrooms for people to age in place, and that's absolutely consistent with our draft residential strategy, and it's absolutely consistent with our planning scheme. And it's not just that it gives us additional bedrooms, it's actually in a really good location where we've got a bus and we've got the Pines close by and we've got Templestowe Village close by, and it increases that housing diversity. So you can absolutely see the benefits. So given that it does comply with...
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, this is a council meeting.
Sorry.
So I will be tough on you. This is a council meeting out of respect. The councillors are here to debate the motion, okay?
Thank you. So given that we do have compliance with our municipal planning strategy and planning policy, I am supporting it, but I do very much want to stress the conditions, and I very much hope that the developer complies with these conditions, including the widening of Chivers Road and provision of associated pedestrian footpath. We had many objections about the size and adequacy of Chivers Road to support this. I'm also very pleased that the officers were able to condition it around reduction of the built form, including removal of 2 bedrooms and balcony box features. We are sadly going to lose 26 protected trees, or in the officer's report, 0.139 hectares. Now that's considerable, and we had a questioner about our loss of canopy trees. This is considerable, and I'm pleased the officers have proposed the vegetation offset conditions and protection of at least 2 large trees. I would say it's not enough. That's a considerable impact in that area, and so I do hope that all the new tree plantings are relatively mature, because again, as Cynthia Pilley said, seedlings, they take a long time to grow. So I do support it. I thank our officers for the work in conditioning it, and I do want to emphasise the importance of these conditions to deliver some amenity to the existing residents, and also to ensure the safety and access at Chivers Road.
Thank you, Councillor Diamante. Do I have a councillor against the motion? Councillor El Taha.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, my fellow councillors, I am actually recommending tonight that we oppose the motion regarding the proposed development, given my concerns are also in line with those raised by the objectors. And it is my belief that the proposed plans do not adequately address the concerns to the area, specifically the ongoing issues regarding traffic safety, access from emergency vehicles needing to access the site, especially being a high needs care home, the cumulative impact of increased vehicles from the increased operations that is going to be doubling in capacity impacting the already narrow, choking Chivers Road, and as well as a loss of all the protected trees, which is substantial in the viability and the livability of Manningham. The risk this poses specifically to emergency vehicles, the excessive scale, bulk, height, and loss of privacy that will dominate the area and overlooking those residents who live in adjoining the properties are all significant detrimental impacts. While I can understand the need we have as a community to ensure more access to aged care rooms in our local area and the dignity our ageing local population deserves to live near those who care for them, I am in no way against the creation of an expanded facility by the operator. I just do not believe the Chivers Road location is the right space for this aged care home of the proposed size, which will be over double the current capacity in operation. I understand there is already access and parking issues to the premises, and I believe that these will be exacerbated by the proposal to expand the facility. Chivers Road serves as a primary entry and exit point for several surrounding streets and can be a real chokehold for local residents. The expanded facility, increased traffic from visitors and workers and delivery vehicles will only exacerbate this problem and create more safety hazards than already presently exist. I also believe the proposed conditions implemented by officers, while work very hard, and I thank them for that, to address the safety and material concerns, they are only conditional, and there is not enough assurance to me to provide ease that they will be fully fulfilled by the developer, and the concerns imposed, therefore, on the community will not be addressed through the conditions. While I understand the developer met and coordinated with residents to address concerns, any modifications to the plans did not really materially impact the original plans that they had in place, and changes made were minor and suitable to the developer still. They could have taken greater action to consider more appropriate alternate options to development that really address the safety concerns head on, such as creating a crossover along Reynolds Road into the new development area, rather than putting more pressure on the already struggling Chivers Road chokehold. And that would have much more meaningfully addressed all the concerns that residents had and their pain points. I believe the main obstacles and risks have not been adequately addressed, in my opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Eltaha. That's time.
Can I request an additional time, please?
Yes, you can. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Diamante and Councillor Goff.
Thank you.
All those in favour? Time permitted.
Thank you. Whatever the outcome may be tonight, I strongly urge a developer to take heed of the serious concerns that the community has. You can see that your neighbours are here in full force tonight. And so please take heed of the concerns that the neighbours have regarding the proposed development and the impact that this will have to the safety, security and privacy, as well as ease of access for existing residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eltaha. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I rise to support this particular motion and this particular application that's going through and support the officer's recommendation. With planning, it is all a hard thing. I remember when I first joined council, be about 30 years ago now, I was told by a fellow councillor, there is no emotion in planning. And I said, of course there is. But ultimately, it's a thing that is applied fairly and justly as opposed to people without that emotion, but on what is written in your title and in your plans and what our planning scheme says that you can do on that property. That holds intrinsic rights and values for a person. So in the low density residential area, and I know that this is abutting that, and this isn't the first place that we've had that has widened a road. Most of the ones that the nursing homes and places that we've got in Manningham, and you just have to go to Templestowe, they were forced to widen the road, put curb and channel in, okay? So we actually do that across. And again, in King Street, that was a low density residential zone. It was facing King Street, and it actually was allowed to go through there in all of that. We do have a problem with ageing people. We have a problem with nursing homes too, in that they've become unaffordable. Small nursing homes are not sustainable. They need to employ nurses, they need to employ a lot of other people, and everyone working in Australia costs a lot of money. And that's probably why people are wanting to build bigger ones. This one here is adding on to an already established home. Yes, it is getting enlarged. And I heard Councillor Taha sort of talk about why don't they get an access from the other road. Well, I don't know the real answer to that, but my guess is that Vic Roads will not allow a driveway to enter that 2 or 3 lane highway going up there to go in and out of an individual house. And I think if you drive up there, you don't see very many houses abutting that road because it is a thoroughfare main road. And so therefore they will always be directed around to the first street, which we are widening, curbing and channeling. I went out there yesterday, had a good look around the whole site. It would not change very much from the presentation along the main road, from the actual road itself. Yes, it will widen, but it won't take a massive change from that angle. And then there's quite a wide barrier between that and the other houses. And even those houses themselves are set on a block a long way down. And I looked at that, and if the tree canopies grow and are in there, that will invariably not be that visible for people that are right down the bottom of the hill. I drove down to the bottom of the hill, looked at the trees, and all I could see were trees up there.
Thank you. Councillor Goff, that's time. Would you like
an
extension
like a
of
bit
time?
Of an extension, thanks.
Can I have a mover, please, for the extension? Councillor Bain and Councillor Chen. Can we put that motion? All in favour? Another 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. We get to this situation where people do have intrinsic rights on properties and can do it, and this actually complies. So it's a compliant thing. Yes, you need a council permit, but you do for so many things. You even need one for a sign. You need it for a whole lot of things that you do. That doesn't mean it's not permitted. This planning scheme will explicitly tell you when something is not permitted, and it will not be permitted. And so this has been considered, and the extension has been put up. There's been running. This is probably the second or third lot of things that have come, not necessarily to us, but have come through. And we are making a decision on this tonight because it's run out of time for us, and we need to make that decision. I'm very happy with the decision to put in those facilities for our older people that are close to, I suppose, if they are from this area. One, a facility that is new that will provide for the ageing population of Manningham. And we are an ageing community, and we do need services around us here without having to travel for miles and miles and miles. So because it complies, it is legal, and it doesn't matter where this goes, it is compliant to our planning scheme. And that's what this report says that it goes into. So on that basis, I support the application.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Do I have a councillor against the motion? Is there a councillor who'd like to speak to the motion? I will now put that motion. All in favour? Councillor Grievous, Councillor Diamante, Councillor Bain, Councillor Conlon, Councillor Main, Councillor Goff, Councillor Chen and Councillor Lang. Those against the motion. Councillor El Taha. The motion has been carried. Jeff, if you don't like to stay for the rest of the evening, you're more than welcome to go home. We don't want to keep you here. Of course, thank you. Item number 10, City Planning and Livability. 10.1, Endorsement of Manningham Integrated Water Management Strategy. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Lang.
I move. Thank you. I move that the alternate motion that Council 1, endorse the officer's recommendation with the following refinements to the strategy prior to publication. So 1A, drainage and flood management. Consider a 10% annual exceedance probability, which is known as an AEP, 1 in 10 year event, as the desirable drainage design standard where feasible as part of the technical engineering review of the Stormwater Management Policy 2024, which will use best practice evidence-based technical engineering assessment to review and assess the existing capacity of the network and inform changes to the design standards and upgrades. Also under 1A, identify a 20% AEP, 1 in 5 event as a minimum drainage design standard. And also 1A, as part of the future technical engineering review of the Manningham Stormwater Management Policy 2024, consider an objective that where underground drainage cannot accommodate a 1% AEP events, which is a 1 in 100 year storms, actions be identified to provide safe overland flow paths where practical to reduce property flooding risk. 1B, review of drainage standards, so to include a new short-term action to review the drainage design standards and best practice approaches used by comparable municipalities following the completion of the technical engineering-led stormwater management policy review to inform future stormwater and drainage planning. 1C, to include indicators, measures and targets, strengthen the strategy by incorporating clearer indicators, measures and time-bound targets where appropriate to support monitoring and evaluation of strategic outcomes, including alignment with relevant Yarra catchment integrated water management measures. 1D, to under waterway monitoring and pollution reduction. Strengthen reference to the monitoring of local waterways, including consideration of long-term water quality monitoring. And, where feasible, strengthen the IWM, the Integrated Water Management Strategy, by expanding on the population reduction benefits to include sediment and nutrient load to improve overall water quality. 1E, water sensitive urban design and environmental outcomes, to consider opportunities to integrate water sensitive urban design, which is known as WSUD, and environmental enhancement initiatives within public open spaces to support waterway health, biodiversity and community connections to waterways, subject to a comprehensive business case subject to a comprehensive business case that may include independent cost-benefit analysis and subject to community consultation and bringing back to council for consideration. And also to amend action 2A relating to Rice Checks Reserve as follows: to ensure that the passive open space amenities and the current formal sport and recreation use will not be adversely impacted by any proposed storm water treatment and harvesting projects, and following effective preliminary community consultation, determine whether it is appropriate to scope and prepare a comprehensive business case to progress the project. Number 2, to replace point E with the following: to authorise the Chief Executive Officer or their delegate to make any minor administrative changes required to improve the overall readability of the strategy. And point 3, insert a new point F, which reads: note the valuable feedback provided by members of the Flooding and Stormwater Management Community Reference Panel, known as the CRP, which has informed these refinements.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Councillors, do I have a seconder for the amended motion?
Mr Mayor, I second the amended motion.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Lang, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Before I talk to this alternative motion, councillors, I just want to be absolutely clear that it fully supports the adoption of Manningham's Integrated Water Management Strategy tonight. What it does seek to do is practical and constructive, and it's incorporate a small number of refinements, which I read, that was informed by our community reference panel, known as the CRP, to strengthen the monitoring, flood resilience and environmental outcomes as this document is finalised. Firstly, I want to acknowledge the significant work undertaken by our council officers. Developing an integrated water management strategy of this scale is complex. It requires coordination across the whole water cycle, from drinking water, stormwater, wastewater, and our environmental systems, while responding to growth, urbanisation, and climate change. So this strategy represents an important step forward, and it provides a 10-year clear direction. I also want to acknowledge the contribution of the Flooding and Stormwater Integrated Water Management Community Reference Panel note called the CRP. Over several years, these members have provided thoughtful and detailed feedback, reflecting a strong commitment to ensuring this strategy delivers real outcomes, not just on paper, but in practice for our community and our environment. Because councillors, our role is simply not to endorse strategies. Our role is to ensure that they are robust enough to guide Manningham for the next decade. So let me turn to why these amendments in the alternate motion matter. Firstly, drainage and flood management. The amendments introduce a clearer, more transparent framework, a minimum drainage standard of 20% AEP, a desirable 10% AEP standard where feasible, and recognition where underground systems cannot cope, we must plan for safe overland flow paths. It's not about overpromising, it's about responsible, evidence-based planning that reduces real risks to homes, infrastructure, and our community, particularly as storm intensity increases, which you know I all know very much about. Secondly, it's about benchmarking and continuous improvement. The amendments commit council to reviewing drainage standards against comparable municipalities, ensuring alignment with best practice and ongoing improvement. Thirdly, measurable targets and accountability. This was the one that was the clearest message from our community. If we're serious about delivery, then we've got to be serious about measurement. These amendments embed clearer indicators, targets, and performance measures so we can track progress, evaluate outcomes, and demonstrate accountability. Fourth, our waterway health and environmental outcomes. The amendments strengthen monitoring and place greater emphasis on water quality, pollution reduction, sediment and nutrient management, and biodiversity. It also expands those water-sensitive urban design and environmental initiatives that we talked about earlier, particularly in open spaces, but balancing those environmental outcomes with community use. And fifth, alignment with broader frameworks. The amendment strengthens alignment with our state guidance and catchment level planning, including the Yarra Strategic Direction Statement, and it also works as a coordinated regional system, so we don't look at this in isolation. So the alternate motion provides a desirable 10% benchmark, including the relationship with our stormwater management policy, measurable targets and clearer monitoring to track progress and demonstrate outcomes, alignment with established integrated water management, and support for community consultation on water-sensitive urban design while ensuring council can balance outcomes appropriately. These amendments before you, councillors, are measured, they're reasonable, and they're evidence-based. We are operating in a context of increasing storm intensity, growing housing density, and escalating infrastructure demand. That is exactly why strategic clarity matters most. This is about good governance, responsible planning, and ensuring we can all stand by this 10-year strategy with confidence.
Councillor Lang,
so
that's
let me
time. Would you like to have
could
an
I have
extension
an
of time? Thank you.
Yes,
Can I have a
please.
move for extension of time? Councillor Goff and seconder Councillor El Taha. I move that motion. All in favour? That's carried. Another 2 minutes, Councillor.
Thank you. So, councillors, can I make it clear? What we're adopting tonight is measurable. It is better aligned to best practice and ultimately more effective. The alternate motion does not reject the strategy, it strengthens it. It does not impose unrealistic standards. It introduced desirable benchmarking while retaining existing minimums. It does not create risk, it creates accountability. For 3 years, drainage, underinvestment and flooding have been consistently identified as top priorities by councillors and our community. And developers in our municipality are required to meet higher stormwater standards than we are proposing for ourselves. So this inconsistency deserved our attention. Mayor and councillors, this amendment does not change the direction of the strategy or further delay its adoption. It simply incorporates practical refinements grounded in community feedback to strengthen the implementation and measurement. It respects the hard work of our officers. It respects the contribution of our community reference panel, and it ensures best practice possible outcomes for our community. Tonight, it's about how we manage flooding, design drainage infrastructure, protect our waterways, and respond to increasing climate pressures and urban density. I urge my fellow councillors to support both the endorsement of the strategy and this alternate motion so that we can adopt tonight not just a good strategy, but a robust, measurable and future-ready strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Councillor Goff, would you like to speak to the motion?
I'll reserve my right, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Do I have a speaker against the motion? Councillor Goff, would you like to take up your right?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I do speak in support of this motion, and I do want to thank the officers at Manningham for all of the work. The Integrated Water Committee, Management Committee, that did a lot of work involving this over a long period of time. The people of our community for their feedback, and their fellow councillors for working through this, because it hasn't been an easy step. Above all, there's nothing more I can say to this than what Councillor Lang has actually outlined. But what I do want to say is our community, I thank on behalf of our community the immense amount of work that Councillor Lang has put into this as the chairperson, the entire commitment and work to work through wording to get something up here that we can all agree to at council, and the work. Manningham people should be extremely proud of somebody that puts this much effort into making sure the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and following through with it. So with that, a great big on behalf of, I think I speak for my fellow councillors and officers here at Manningham, a grateful thank you for the work that you've put in to get us to something that we can put through tonight. It had already been postponed for 1 month. So on behalf of, I hope I'm speaking of every councillor here and the officers, but also of myself, thank you very much, Councillor Lang, and please, let's support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Is there a councillor against the motion? Is there another councillor for the motion? Councillor Collin.
Yes, I'd like to just reiterate the importance of the changes that have been made in terms of making it a more robust, more measurable, more measures in there, which is great. And I'd like to also, reinforce what Councillor Goff was saying about the work that Councillor Lang has done. And so thank you, Councillor Lang, for putting all this, organising those amendments. And I'd also like to acknowledge the great work of the officers in terms of trying this arduous process, which has been years in the making, of getting to this point. So, and we are finally here, so I hope that we can adopt it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Collin. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Chen.
And Councillor Lang has addressed comprehensively about the concepts and the purposes of this alternative motion, which I don't need to repeat again. And I just want to congratulate Councillor Lang and also our 2 councillors also sat on the committee for organizing the whole robust attorney motion together with a contribution from the community groups, and as well as all the contributions made from my fellow councillors, putting up the ideas, suggestions, and also debated on the wordings, and as well as the comprehensive introduction or suggestion and answering questions from officers, which I really appreciated. And I just want to say that the water-sensitive urban design has been mentioned several times in the document, and that you'll probably notice that the attorney motion they put into the comprehensive business case rather than business case as before. And also community consultation, we just emphasize effective community consultation, which I think that is a new concept which has been gradually built into the integrated water management, but they're still very foreign to our community. So in order to build trust and support from our community, it is really important a comprehensive business case can be conducted wherever possible, and also effective community consultation can be made to win the trust, and also just to spread the information and just bring our community on board together to make Manningham a more livable place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to the motion? I will now put that motion. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Item 10.2, Manningham's draft active transport strategy. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Chen.
Yes, Mayor, I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion.
Councillor Main. Councillor Chen, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor. And Manningham Council has received $30,000 from the Transport Accident Commission to support and develop an active transport strategy to improve walking, cycling, paths and trails and infrastructure throughout Manningham. The strategy will help guide our programs, planning, infrastructure, and advocacy for the next 10 years. It will supersede previous outdated walking and cycling strategies, combining both modes of active transport into one refreshed document as Manningham's first active transport strategy. A consultant was engaged with their money and to assist in the development of this draft strategy. And a community survey was undertaken to guide the draft. There is no need to confuse the active transport strategy with the draft, recently endorsed draft football, but this is footpath policy, which was released for public consultation on 24th of March. The footpath policy will define a criterion that determines where new footpaths should be delivered, and prioritization process to allocate capital funding for footpath infrastructure was also outlined. The draft active transport strategy expands further by identifying the provision of a shared path network to support and encourage multi-modes of active transport, including walking, cycling, and scootering. The draft football policy and active transport strategy are complementary. The draft active transport strategies identifies 6 things to guide the future of active transport in Manningham. The 6 things are safe, empowering and inclusive, healthy community, connected, equitable priority, and future focused. An action plan is also included in the draft to ensure a consistent approach to achieving the outcomes of a safe, inclusive, connected, equitable, and future-focused active transport network. If endorsed tonight, public consultation will be conducted between 1st of May and 31st of May. The final version of the strategy will be tabled at the July Council meeting seeking endorsement from Council. Mayor, active transport strategy promotes walking, cycling, and other non-motorized methods and is very vital to all walks of life. Of course, there are obstacles in Manningham, such as our topography, aging population. A bus is the only public transport mode in Manningham. But despite these challenges, there are also opportunities. Active transport offers benefits that span health, equity, economy, and environment. I encourage residents to consider the draft active transport strategy and submit your feedback on the document. For time-poor residents, focusing on the action plan is an efficient shortcut to understanding and providing feedback. It allows residents to quickly grasp what is proposed, how it impacts us, and how you can influence the strategy. I look forward to hearing and considering our residents' submissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Councillor Main, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Chen, for your thorough overview. As it has been outlined, this strategy aims to make it easier and safer for people of all ages and abilities to walk, cycle, and use other active modes of transport to travel around Manningham for either short trips or recreation. Active transport is a topic that encapsulates so many of our key goals here as a council, most obviously supporting healthier and more active lifestyles, but also improving livability and reducing our reliance on our car, which then in turn does deliver environmental benefits and can help address cost of living pressures as well. The elephant in the room when it comes to active transport in Manningham is the topography. We're a hilly council and we're an awkward distance from the city, making it sometimes more difficult. But this strategy aims to recognise these constraints and take a really realistic, place-based approach, identifying where improvements can make the greatest difference and where active transport can most effectively complement other transportation options. It's also worth noting that the increased uptake of electric scooters and e-bikes is changing the game in terms of active transport, so it really is a timely time to consider our options. An important distinction in this strategy is it does not commit council to any individual projects. Instead, it will be used as a tool that provides a clear framework to guide future planning, prioritisation and investment, and to ensure that active transport is considered in our decision making. So this item is coming to council to seek endorsement of the draft strategy so it can be released for community consultation. So please, if you have any thoughts, whether that's a dangerous intersection that you don't want to, it means you don't walk your kids to school, or whether that's a footpath that maybe isn't quite up to scratch, please let us know. Every piece of information is important and will give us the best collaborative policy that we can make. And of course, thank you to the officers for all of their work to date putting this together.
Thank you, Councillor Main. Do I have a speaker against the motion? Do I have a speaker for the motion? Do I have a speaker who'd like to speak to the motion? I'll put that motion. All in favour? That is carried unanimously. Item 11, Connected Communities. There are no Connected Communities reports this month. Item 12, City Services. There are no City Services report this month. Item 13, Experience and Capability. 13.1, Audit and Risk Committee Chair's Biannual Report. Do I have a mover, please?
I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Diamante. Do I have a seconder, please?
I second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Councillor Diamante, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report covers a period October last year to March this year, and we had two meetings, 21st of November last year and then the 6th of March. We cover many aspects in the internal audit meeting, in the Audit and Risk Committee meeting. Apologies, I've got a slight head cold. So one of them is internal audits. I'm going to start again, everyone. I'm sorry.
You're right, Councillor.
Within our agendas, we cover many matters, but we always cover internal audits. And over the period, we've had the immunisation management audit, which was really positive for Manningham. I was really proud of the organisation, and the internal auditor commended the organisation and management in taking really active steps to decrease risks and strengthen our processes, given it's such an important service we provide. We had a great report on fleet management with some minor actions on the importance of data management, but also fuel risk management. Considering this was in October last year, I think our internal auditors may have had a crystal ball. And then there are also some commendations on training initiatives that the team have taken on heavy vehicle regulations to strengthen compliance and safety. So again, a big tick to the team. We've also had internal audits on service planning frameworks, how we strengthen our governance and introduce efficiencies, and also a review on the outcomes of previous audits such as drainage. So the internal audit agenda has been quite busy. We've also obviously go through risk, and we've had some really robust discussions in that committee and then also with councillors on our strategic risk register. And it's really good that the ratings have remained stable, though we do see new risks pop up and down, and one of them that is always increasing is data risk and security risk, and I'm guessing in the next 6 to 12 months we'll probably have AI risks as technology continues to evolve. But what I love about this organisation is how forward-thinking it is. And so we also talk about succession planning with a risk lens as well. So the risk part of this committee is, I believe, really mature. And I'm really proud that we take this approach to a pragmatic approach to risk management. It's not about not doing something, it's about how we still achieve outcomes within a lower risk environment. So it's a really, really mature environment. I've loved being part of those conversations. And in finishing up, I do just want to acknowledge and thank Andrew Dix, who has been chair and a member of the committee for the last 9 years. He's stepping down as chair in June this year. And he's really contributed not just to the really strong, mature risk management conversations, but also the strong financial management conversations through his insights and his guidance and his oversight. Even in his final briefing to us, councillors, I loved what he said, and I just wrote down 2 of his quotes. Don't ever get comfortable or believe matters will stay as they are. And I think in this environment, it's so clear, even, take one word like fuel. And then the other one is always focus on economic surety through scenario planning and understand what those triggers are when those scenarios actually pop up. So I really want to thank Andrew. He will be missed.
Thank you, Councillor Diamante. Councillor Lang, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Councillor Diamante, for such a thorough assessment of the report. I think what it really shows all up is that there's been a really good amount of strength and a lot of critical work done in this space. And independently, that oversight and advice and assurance has said exactly that we are, the Audit and Risk Committee and the organisation remain accountable across compliance, financial supporting, risk management, internal, external audits. It was the same, that there is really mature and adaptive risk management. It was noting that the committee, the Audit and Risk Committee, is also got a very strong culture of transparency, scrutiny, and then collaboration. And I think that's really important when you work on an Audit and Risk Committee. Council's risk environment does remain stable, which is really good, and the report speaks to that, but it's also actively monitored. And so that should be reassuring. There are challenges and there does need to be guidance, and management have been doing that through a number of issues and looking at community safety, risks with flooding, child safety, and all our delivery. And that was another aspect of delivery management and any interference in that and any risks to business as usual. Councillor Diamante talked about the immunisation, the fleet management and services. But it also had recommendations how to strengthen all of those systems, and I'm pleased to say that they were all taken on, and with maturity and with collaboration. I also wanted then to acknowledge the significant contribution that Andrew Dix, the chair, has had, and as he comes to the conclusion of his tenure in June of 9 dedicated years, I just want to thank him for his leadership. He's played an important role in council's governance, in our risk maturity, in meeting with councillors, being frank and honest, and giving and answering hard questions. So I really ask fellow councillors to endorse the report tonight and be proud of council's systems, of our oversight mechanisms, which I keep saying the same words tonight: robust, effective, and continuously improving. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Do you have any speakers against the motion? Are there any other councillors who'd like to speak to the motion? I will put that motion. All in favour? That is carried unanimously. Item 13.2, informal meetings of councillors. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Al-Taha.
I move that the motion be adopted, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Al-Taha. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Collin. Councillor Al-Taha, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I just want to note that I'm happy to report on this item. It's been a more quiet month in terms of meetings since our last council meeting, and the majority have been councillor briefing sessions on various issues across the municipality. The Recreation and Sport Advisory Committee, however, did meet, but I'm not a member of that committee, so I don't have anything specific to share on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Al-Taha. Councillor Collin, would you like to speak to the motion? No. Thank you. Are there any councillors against the motion? I will put that motion.
Thank you.
You do want to speak to the motion?
I will, because I just realised I'm going to use my other time for, which I could have spoken about the sports committee, for something else. So I will, if that's okay.
Thank you, Councillor Collin.
Yes, so the meeting that we did have was the sports advisory committee, which was well attended, and we actually considered the active transport strategy, as well as Timber Ridge, what to do there in terms of a master plan, and it was really engaging, and it was great to have the officers support that engagement with the with our members, our volunteer members of the committee. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Collin. I will now put that motion. All in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 13.3, documents for sealing. Do I have a mover, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I move that the recommendation be no.
No, 13.3 we're talking about, documents for sealing.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I move that the recommendation be adopted with the addition of the following document. Telecommunications lease, Manningham and TPG Telecom Limited for the premises part of 139 to 153 Williamsons Road, Lower Templestowe.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Do I have a seconder, please?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Councillor Bain, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Chen, would you like to speak to the motion? I will put that motion. All in favour? Unanimously carried. Item 14, Chief Executive Officer. There are no Chief Executive Officer reports tonight. Item 15, urgent business. 15.1, appointment of authorised officers, Planning and Environment Act 1987. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Diamante.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move, in the exercise of the powers conferred by Section 224 of the Local Government Act 1989 and other legislation referred to in the attached instrument of appointment and authorisation, Council resolves that the following council officer be appointed as an authorised officer under Planning Environment Act 1987, Stephen G. B, the instrument will come into force immediately upon execution and will remain in force until council determines to vary or revoke the instrument or the officer ceases their employment with council. And C, the instrument be signed and sealed.
Thank you, Councillor Diamante. Do I have a seconder, please?
Motion.
Thank you, Councillor Main. Are there any councillors against the motion? I'll put that motion. All in favour? That is carried unanimously. Item 16, councillor reports and question time. Councillors, would anyone like to provide a report or raise a question? Councillor Chen.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I have a report to make. And Manningham hasn't been included in any state government's bus improvement announcement for some time. So I'm delighted to see today's announcement for more investment on buses, including longer operating hours, more Saturday services, and a new Sunday service on bus route 273 between the Pines and Nunawading Station in the next week's state government budget. I have committed to a car-free April and using public transport for shopping and performing my council duties. Everything has gone very well except Mullen Stadium and Mullen Reserve. The stadium opens until 10 p.m. at night, but the last weekday 273 departs from the stadium at 7:30 p.m. Saturday 273 runs one service every 60 minutes, and there is no Sunday service. Without my fellow councillors giving me a lift, Mayor and Councillor Colin, I would have been stranded on the bus stop. Manningham's residents rely solely on buses for public transport. As bus improvement, even minor changes, any bus improvement, even minor changes can make a significant difference. From my personal experience as a bus commuter, I'm thrilled about the bus 273 improvement. Councillor Colin knows that. Having said that, there are more to be done. Our bus advocacy campaign includes implementation of the Northeast Bus Network Refuel pilot projects, improving Templestowe Road bus services, and an express bus route that mirrors suburban rail loop routes. These projects can significantly improve bus connectivity and are deeply valued and crucial to the community. I urge the government to deliver more bus improvements for Manningham, the only municipality in metropolitan Melbourne that does not have any train or train services. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Are there any other councillors who would like to put a report through? Councillor Conlon.
Thank you. So is it right that I have 2 minutes? Please don't start the timer yet. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm going to try and get it in. It was a great pleasure to go to the Warrandyte Library the other day and meet the CEO of Whitehorse Manningham Libraries. Speaking to the librarians there, the fantastic response and amazing, I guess, care that people have taken in terms of the open library. So people come in after hours. They haven't had to do anything. They've got CCTV. In fact, the people are more paranoid about the CCTV catching them doing something, so they're not willing to make any mess. So the worst they've had is, I think, someone left a coffee cup maybe behind since we've opened that. And that brings me to my point, which I'd like to request through the Mayor, the CEO brings for our consideration, the idea of making open libraries available in all our libraries. I noticed Whitehorse did this in their last council meeting, or the one before, and as part of their budget preparations, they will be considering that. So this would allow much more people to use the libraries after hours, and I'd appreciate that as an item. That leads me to my second point. Councillor Chen and I went to the hockey game down at Mullen the other day, and one of the issues they have there is the lights. The lights are currently the old style halogen, and that they blow, and now they're so rare, they're so hard to get, they can't even replace them. And I would like also, another consideration for the budget, as we prepare for the budget, to understand what it would take to bring forward all our conversions to LEDs of multiple sports fields, but specifically at least the Donvale Hockey Club and also the Zerbies Oval. It is a real safety issue for hockey in particular, because if you can't see the ball, if you've seen a hockey ball, it's hard and it's small, And if you can't see it, you're likely to get in the head. And so it's a real safety issue. I really appreciate if that could come back.
Thank you, Councillor Collin. Is there another councillor who would like to have a report put through? Councillor Main.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to report that on March 28 and 29, Manningham enjoyed the widely anticipated Pottery Expo. Celebrating 25 years of Australia's leading ceramics event, the expo was devastatingly cancelled last year due to bushfire concerns in Warrandyte, so as a result was moved to Heidi this year to mitigate this risk. Although the expo was moved away from Warrandyte, the history of the incredible potters of Warrandyte was not forgotten. The expo included more than 90 ceramic artists from across Australia, plus selected international practitioners, and extended beyond just a market, including live demonstrations, try-the-wheel sessions, the popular pottery throwdown event, a curated exhibition of highly acclaimed Australian artists, live music, local food vendors, and much more. Personally, the Potters Expo is something that I thoroughly look forward to each year and something that I have enjoyed since I was a kid. I think it's such a beautiful crossover of art, community, local history, nature, and so much more. And I hope the event continues for another prosperous 25 years and beyond. And I would really urge Heidi, if it continues to take place at their facility, to really support the event and help it grow, because it has so much potential. So finally, congratulations to the organisers for putting on yet another great event. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Main. Councillor Diamante.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few points. Since we've last met, councillors, putting on my Eastern Region group of councils hats, we were able to visit Parliament House 2 weeks ago to speak to members of the government and also the opposition about advocacy. So it was really good to talk about advocacy relating to planning, for example, and ensuring that councils continues to be involved in planning changes and planning discussions, and also really important advocacy around managing increasing costs in terms of road maintenance and level crossing removals, etc., libraries, etc. And we also had an interesting conversation about public transport advocacy. I do want to note and emphasise Councillor Chen's comment that it's great that we've got the enhancement to the Pines to Nunawading, but we do have those other bus advocacy requests, particularly around suburban rail loop that Councillor Chen mentioned, and being able to connect to the universities and mirror that loop and have the high frequency bus lane up and down Doncaster Road. And just in terms of advocacy, it was great. Thank you to the officers for enabling us to have the opportunity to meet with the full North East Link team, including from the Victorian Government and their contractors. And it was really important for us to continue our advocacy there in terms of air quality and the emissions stack and to filter or not to filter and what the triggers may be, as well as other advocacy for all of the residents impacted up and down that project. So thank you to the officers. I found it really valuable, and I also want to thank the project for having such a strong working relationship with council that we can continue to advocate on these matters that are important to residents.
Thank you, Councillor Diamante. Do I have any other councillors for a report? Councillor Taha.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on the new public artwork titled Journey of Hope that has been installed in Ruffy Lake Park, given it was featured on this month's Manningham Matters cover. I attended the opening of this artwork and was incredibly moved by the efforts of passionate local community members, including a particularly dedicated resident in my ward, to work for years alongside council to get this piece finalised, as well as the introduction from the artist, who on the day reflected on how heavy it had been to work on an artwork so connected to hope, love, belonging and innocence, as shown in the bright faces of the children captured in the piece during a time when so many children are under attack, be it in Palestine, Iran, Lebanon, Sudan and Congo. The powerful message reinforced to me the importance for us as a community to strive for peace, tolerance and respect for all, whilst acknowledging there truly can be no peace without justice, freedom and dignity. And on this point, while many in our community feel the direct weight of war and genocide paid in the blood of their loved ones, I acknowledge that we as a council are fortunate to have the cost of brutal global conflict be primarily monetary, and one that poses as an inconvenience. However, I can understand that for many in our community, the increase to people's expenses can be debilitating, and I want to acknowledge that I'm very supportive of and encourage Council to take a proactive approach to supporting people during these really difficult financial times. As a start, Council now has on its website a link to financial support services in our local area and those provided by other national organisations, and I urge community members to reach out to Council for further information and support if they need it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor El Taha. Are there any other councillors who would like to put forward a report? On that note, I would also like to put forward a report from me. So I would like to say that on Saturday, the 25th of April, a number of councillors attended 3 services: the Doncaster RSL at dawn service, the Templestowe RSL morning service, and the Warrandyte RSL mid-morning service. What an amazing array of events. The CEO was there as well, and on some of them, or all of them. You were all of them, just like me, and Anna. So thank you to all those councillors that were there. I want to thank the RSLs specifically for their work that they did during that morning. Very moving services. It was great to hear from a number of people in regards to the history, some of the Anzac stories that they had provided us. So thank you to all of them, and I just want to recognise them and say thank you very much. Any other councillors? Oh, Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry. Even though I was unable to attend Councillors the Warrandyte Festival, I do want to acknowledge the organisers. I unfortunately was on compassionate leave in that time, but I do know from many the amount of hours and work and preparation for days and all through the night beforehand, from people that were setting up to people who were designing floats, to people that were organising cars, to people who were monitoring roads and side streets, to people that were there 24 hours all night making sure that the area stayed safe and nothing was vandalised. So, and to the committee for putting that all together. I acknowledge that the costs of living mean that these events are very much increasing, and that there are challenges in that area. But I just want to thank the Warrandyte Festival Committee for their dedication, hard work, and their successful and joyful event that I heard that it was. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Are there any other councillors who would like to put a report through? Okay, I'll move forward. Item number 17, confidential reports. Councillors, we have 2 confidential reports tonight. In saying that, can I have a motion to close the council meeting to the public and to consider the confidential matters? Can I have a mover, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move that the council close the meeting to the public pursuant to sections 66(1) and 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider the following items. Item 17.1, Amendment C141 Man, Public Acquisition Overlay for Public Open Space, consultation with affected landowners and other matters. And item 17.2, the Strategic Property Portfolio Former Quarry Update.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Goff. Councillors, we will now be closing this meeting. So my apologies. Can I put that motion forward, please? All in favour? That's unanimously carried. Councillors, we will now be closing this meeting to members of the public and end the live stream to consider this confidential report. Thank you for joining the meeting this evening.